Oh, Palden Sawe Lama Rinpoche and Dageji obeyed attention on cutting chimbuconages. Koson to Kimoto Sato, so Janju Sinju Rinpoche Maki Padam. Kebanyamba me Padam Kone Kondo Belba, show Semjanam Sambat, Loy Church. Chijon to Monte Pari, Chigi Kolo Gordo, so. And so today is the fourth day of teaching, and we are talking about talking on the text torch of certainty. And in this torch of certainty, so we have the preliminary practice and the actual practice. And in the preliminary practice, we have the general control and the special control. And till now, we have gone through with the first, second, and third of the general control. We have gone through with the precious human birth, and we have gone through with the impermanence, and then we have gone with karma, cause, and effect. And today we are going from the fourth category or fourth session from this general control. And today we are going with the defects of samsara. And when we are talking about defects of samsara, so we can go one by one, or we can, in the beginning, we can just have a general idea what's the defect of the samsara. So when we are talking about samsara, we say we are born in the samsara again and again and again, and it's almost impossible for us to be free from this samsara. But is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. It is possible, but it is quite difficult. And till now, we have been born in this samsara for so many hundreds of millions of times. And for an example, the samsara, we can say like it is like a closed pot, and it is like a closed pot, like a round one, and we are like a fly inside the pot, where there is almost no way to get out. And when the fly is inside the pot, so sometimes the fly flies like at the lower or like at the base of the pot, and sometimes it just flies in the middle, then sometimes it flies in the upper level of the pot, and then sometimes again in the middle, up, down, like this. But it is almost impossible for the fly to get out of the pot. But what it does is it is just inside the pot, flying from up to up, down, middle, up, down, like that. So just like that, the upper part is like the God realm, demigod realm, and human realm. Excuse me. And the lower part of the pot is like the hungry ghost realm and animal realm and ghost realm or hell realm. So it is just like that. So sometimes we are born in hell, sometimes we are born in God realm, and then again we are born in animal realm, and then again in hungry ghost realm. So we just keep moving from here to there, and it is almost impossible for us to get out of that, because till now what we have been doing is we have been only thinking about self, and if not self, then only thinking about this life. Because if we check very properly, we are not doing much for our next life. And we do say that whatever we are doing is for our next life. But if we check very properly, if we see it, then we will know that whatever we are doing, whether we are walking, whether we are exercising, whether we are walking, whether we are helping someone, whether we are being helped, or whether we are going to the doctor, whether we are going to the gym, whether we are going to movies. So almost all the activities that we do, and if we check properly, if we just check whether we are doing this for this life or whether we are doing for next life, and we will be able to know that whatever we do is for only for this life. And when our motivation is only for this life, and obviously whatever we do, the benefit is also going to be only for this life. It's not going to be for the next life because our motivation is already very, very limited because we are only thinking about this life. So that is why whatever we do, so we might get it in this life, but we don't have the motivation for next life because we don't have so much faith in next life. But if we think about it very properly and then we check it properly again and again, and we have more trust in the samsara, and then when we believe that it's wherever we are born in the samsara, it's always up unhappiness, then we would like to be free from the samsara. So that is why it is very important to know about these 6 different realms that we categorize here. And from these 6, so we will start from the very uh, lower realm of these 6 realms as is written here in Torch of Certainty. So the first one is the Hell realm. And when we are talking about Hell realm, there are like mm, quite a different categories of Hell realm. So there are Hell realm in so many different religions. I'm pretty sure there is Hell realm in Christians, there are Hell realm in Hindus, and maybe in some other religions. I'm not exactly sure how they describe, but here, when we are talking about in Hell realm here, then we mainly categorize hell realm into 2 different categories. So we have the hot hell realm, and then we have the cold hell realm. And when we are born in hot hell realm, then we believe that we will be like boiled or cooked or something like that in a very, very high temperature, and then it is very difficult for us. And then even when now, when we just pour something little hot water in on our skin, we get very affected. We only think about it. We don't think about practicing. We don't think about doing something to others. We only just want to get help for that pain that is caused by dropping some hot water. But if we imagine if we are born in a helmet, then what kind of sufferings we will be getting in there. And when we are suffering, it's almost impossible for us to think about somebody else, or it's almost impossible for us to practice or to help or to love or something. And it is quite impossible to be free from that. And then we see the life expectancy if we are born in Hellren, it's extremely long, and then it's very difficult for us to get free from that. And we can think about that. And if it is quite difficult for us to think about her, then we can just visualize when we are being burned, or when we drop something like hot water or hot tea, hot coffee, when we pour something like this by mistake on our hand or on our feet, then what kind of suffering we have. So with that kind of visualization, then we will know that if we are born in Helen, then it's very, very difficult for us. And then the second one is the cold realm. And just like hot realm, then again we will be born in a very, very cold place where it's very extremely cold, and you won't be wearing anything. You will be naked, and it's going to be very difficult. And just like hot, and again here we will have great difficulties when we are born there, and we can think about that. And we have many different categories of hot hell and cold hell, so I don't think we should go in detail. So we can just think that one is extremely hot and one is extremely cold. And then beside these two, usually we categorize hot realm into 8 parts, and then cold hell into 8 different parts. And beside these two or 16, so if we categorize into 8, then it's 16. And if we categorize only as 2, then that's also okay, hot and cold. And beside these two, we also have like temporary or intermediate hell realm, where we will be born for not for so long, like between big rocks. We will just be there, like born as some very difficult, having difficulties, having problems like that, born between rocks or something like that, where it is not for extremely long, like in this hot hell or cold hell, but just for temporary or intermediate. And then there's also a hell called neighboring hell, which is like almost like hot and cold, but it's not like that. So I don't think it's extremely important to go in detail in all about this. And after this hell realm, then we can talk about Hidak or hungry ghost realm. And when we are talking about hungry ghost realm, then also we have so many different categories when we are describing about hungry ghosts. So sometimes we'll be born in the hungry ghost realm, and we won't be able to see water for ages and ages for uh, many years. Even now, if we don't drink water or tea or coffee for a few days, then we feel very thirsty. But here we don't get to see or let not only see, but we also won't be able to hear the sound water. And for not only for days or weeks, we don't hear or see for ages and ages, 8 years, 10 years, more than that. And we are always thirsty, but we don't die. We just become thirsty. And because of the thirst, we have so much suffering. So there's one. And then there's also some other time where we'll be born like where our throat or neck, we can say, are very thin, extremely thin, like the needle, and our stomach is very big. And even if we see something, if we want to eat, we cannot eat because our throat is so tiny and nothing goes inside from your throat, and it only causes pain. And not only that, sometimes even if you see some food from the distance, you will see like, oh, there's some food, so I should go there, pick it up. Maybe I should eat. But when you get near to these places, then they all change into something else, like weapons, like something that is not suitable to eat. So and there's another one. So like where the hungry ghosts are flying. So here we are talking about like spirits or ghost or something like that. And when we die, sometimes we are born as hungry ghost, but not like the first and second one, but just like a spirit. And we are born in the place. And then, um, since we don't have the body, we will be able to fly here, fly there, like that. And then we see our families, we see our friends, and then we want to go to them and we want to talk to them, we want to share our feelings with them, but they cannot hear us, they cannot see us, and then we feel huge suffering. And when we are near them, and even if we want to do something like good to them, but because we are born as a hungry ghost, instead of helping them, we always end up harming them, and they think they are being disturbed by something, and then we keep on harming and harming. So that is also a hungry ghost run. That is also a very difficult place to be born, and a place where we can almost never practice. And then the third one is animal realm. So in animal realm, we can talk about wild animals and domesticated animals. And even if we are born as a wild animal, then we are able to know how difficult it is for them. They don't get food on time. They are always afraid. If you are small, then you are afraid of being eaten by a big animal. If you are big, you are afraid of being eaten by a more bigger animal, sometimes killed by humans for so many different things to wear, to eat, to wear, and all for medicine, and so many things. And you are always afraid. And it's you always have to be like very uh, sensitive because there's always danger of being killed. So even if you are born in water, even if you are born as a bird which can fly, or even if you live in the jungle, there's always possibility of being killed. And because of that, and you face so many difficulties because you always have the fear of being killed. And not only the wild animals, but also the domesticated animals. So even from outside, they might look like they are having a very good time, but actually it's not like that. Sometimes they will be not fed on time, sometimes won't be taken care of well. Some of the domesticated animals, even you take milk from them, and sometimes we make them work in the garden, we make them work in the agricultural fields, like for farming. In the villages, you can see all these domesticated animals working in the field, and they plow the field. They have so many cuts on the neck, but still they're still plowing, and these are all huge suffering they bear. And these we can see from our own eyes, and we can have feelings for them. We can feel compassion to them, and then we can visualize, if I am born as an animal like this, how will I be able to practice? How will I be able to gain nirvana? How will I be able to get enlightenment? If we check, then it's almost impossible. We can just look at them from morning to evening. Even if you don't look at them, you can just think about it. What time can they have compassion? What time can they get practice? No, it's almost impossible for them to practice. So because of that, then it's almost impossible for them to practice. And when you keep on committing mistake, or when you keep on committing sins again and again, then it's almost impossible for you to be born in the higher realm. So you'll be just be born again. From hungry goes to hell, hell to animal, animal to hell, like that. And it's almost impossible. So we should be very careful. And after this three, then we will talk about the upper three realms. And from these upper three realms, the first one is mhm, the God realm. And in God realm, we say that it is very, very enjoyable, very lavish, very good, and everything you want, it is there. It's very comfortable. But because of all this comfortable that you have, you don't remember doing anything good to others. You don't remember to practice. You don't remember to have compassion because you are so into it. It's just like, for an example, like now, if you have all the things that you want, like if you sometimes people like to listen to music, and when they are listening to the music played by their favorite musician, then they don't want to do anything. They would just like to listen to that music. They don't want to go to practice. They don't want to read. They don't want to write. They want to pay respect to other people because they will be so focused into that. And if you are like watching movies, then you don't think about anything else. And even sometimes when you are doing something else, if you don't drink for like 1 or 2 hours, you might feel thirsty. But if it is something that you are very interested in, and when the movie runs for like 2 hours, 3 hours, but because you are so into it, because you're so excited, you don't feel hungry, you don't want to go to the washroom, you don't want to drink, because you are so into it and you don't remember anything at all, even if you have huge debt to pay the next day. But if you are so into the movie, you will not think about that. Even if you have exam, you will not think about that because you are so focused into the movie, something that is you are really interested in. So just like that, if you are born in God's realm, it is exactly like that, and it not only lasts for like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It lasts for ages and ages, and whatever you want, you get it, and you do that again. You want something else, you do that. You eat good. Everything is too enjoyable, and then you forget about practicing or doing something good. And because of that, you will almost never practice. And but because since you are God and you have all these special powers, and before you die, then you will be able to know that, oh, I'm about to die, like a week before you die. And then you feel huge regret, and then you feel like, oh, now I'm about to die. I wasted so many years of my life. not doing anything. And now it's too late. And because it's too late, you don't want to practice. So there's not much you can do. So the mental difficulties that you face, like at the end of your life in God realm, is extremely huge. And then you will just cry, sob, feel sorrow, feel sad, but you won't be able to practice. And the other second upper realm is demigod realm. And here, because you're born in demigod realm, you still have some power. And you can see mm, the lifestyle in the god realm. And because of that, because they are, even though your life is quite good, but you still a life that is much, much better than yours. So because of that, you always are too envious about with the God. So what they are doing, how they are living, what they are eating, what they are wearing. Whenever you see that, because these are all little, quite better than what you have in demigod realm. So because of that, you always get very jealous, you get very envious, and because of all these mental afflictions, then you are, even though you have, but you still feel sorry because some other people have much better than you. And that also we can think about ourselves. We can visualize ourselves sometimes. Even we have something, but when somebody else or one of our friend, sometimes even when our family have a better car, a better house, more money, a better clothes, better bag, we still feel jealous. And it's quite depressing for us when we feel jealous. And it's just like that. So if you are born in demigod realm, you always feel jealous with the god. And uh, instead of being content with what you have, you always feel so sad and worried. And then the last one, where we are here now, the human realm. And human realm, even though we have so many difficulties, but this is the perfect realm. So even we say God realm is much better than human realm, but it is not. From Dharma point of view, it's not like that because we have happiness and we also have equal amount of happiness. And because of this, even when we are unhappy, we can still practice. Even when we are happy, we can still practice. And it's like very 50-50, the amount of happiness and unhappiness. So if we are able to utilize the body that we have gained, and if we are able to practice, then we will be able to gain enlightenment. And if we are able to be free from samsara, then it's extremely wonderful thing, and almost it is the best thing that we can do. So even when we are talking about human realm, so we can see that we have so many difficulties here. Like, so if when we say, oh, human realm is the best, then maybe somebody might think that, oh, then the next life I have to be born in human realm again. There's no need for me to get enlightened, but it's not like that. Even in human realm, we have so many difficulties. Like, if we are extremely happy, we might be very happy today because you have received the salary, your health is very good, uh, whatever you need, you have. But these are all very temporary. It might change tonight or tomorrow. You might have a heart attack in the evening, or you might have a headache, or you might lose your money. Somebody might steal it or rob it, and the house might be burned. So you never know. Even all this happiness might turn into unhappiness. And not only that, and even when we are unhappy, we can have more unhappiness because sometimes when we are already sick, then again we might lose our money. We are already very depressed in the beginning because of our unhealthy life when we are sick. But again, we might lose some of our money, or our house might get burnt, or one of our relative might die, or one of our friend might have been kicked out of their job or something like that. So even if we have one suffering, then again there are so many other suffering that piles on our suffering. So these are all very difficulties that we face in our human. life. And not only that, we also have like the other sufferings, like when we are born, then we say that we are, most of us are in our mother's womb for like 9 months. And then we believe that when we are in the womb, it's very difficult for us to breathe. It's very difficult for us to move. Because even now, like in this, because most of us have been in quarantine, yeah. So we were in isolation, and most of us have a house. We can at least take like few steps, maybe like 10 steps to the east, 10 steps to the west, and 10 steps to the north and south at least, or maybe like 5 steps at least. But when we are in the womb, then we cannot move like that because it's quite compact inside, and then it's very difficult to breathe. And there are so many difficulties in there because you will be in that same, almost the same position, almost for such a long time, and it's very, very, very difficult being in there. And after that, then we again might be sick, and when we are sick, so that is also a huge difficulties. Not only like the big permanent illness, even when we just have a small headache or like a stomach ache, that also brings us so much mm, discomfort in our life. And it's very easy for us to know all this discomfort because I'm pretty sure most of us have been sick, if not like extremely permanent illness, but at least we, all of us, have been gone through with headache or stomach ache or something like fracture or broken bones or something like that. And then the third one is getting old. And when we are old, then it's also very difficult for us because our body cannot move like before. We cannot walk like before. We cannot run like before. It's very difficult for us to speak. When we speak, our voice becomes very low. And it's very difficult for other people to hear what you are saying. And not only that, when other people are saying, then again, it's very difficult for us to hear when other people are saying because the hearing power gets very low. And when some other people are speaking near you, then you cannot hear. And you always think like, oh, maybe they are talking something about me. They are talking something negative about me, like that. And then so many things come into your mind. And what you want to do, you cannot do because of the old age. What you want to eat, you cannot eat because of the old age. You cannot eat this, you cannot eat that. And then these are all sufferings that we have when we are old. And the last one is dying. So even when they're dying, we feel, most of us feel quite sad because uh, it's not, dying is not when you want to die. It's usually you don't want to die most of the time, and you never know when it's going to happen. And when you are dying, there's always a huge suffering, there's a pain, mentally, physically, and all this. And these are all very difficult to bear. And not only that, and then again, when we are born as human, there's so many other difficulties that the people that you want to be with, you cannot be with them because you have to work, or because, or maybe you have to go to school, or maybe you have to go to college, or maybe you have to work in a different country. And these are all sufferings that we have. And sometimes you have to be with some people who you don't want to be with. You don't want to be with someone, but you have to be with them because you work in the same place, or maybe you study in the same place. Even if you want to avoid, you cannot avoid them. So these are all sufferings, and we have so many different sufferings. And because when we uh, think about all these sufferings again and again, then we will have the motivation to be free from all these sufferings. And for if when we die, and if it is like nothing after that, then there's not much we should be doing for our next life. We can just enjoy this life. But we believe that it's not like that. There is something after our death. So we have to prepare for that. If there's no afterlife, then it's quite easy. We can just do whatever in this life, and then we don't have to worry about it. But it's not like that. And it's uh, uh, almost pretty sure that there is going to be a next life. And most of the people who are watching this or who are listening to this, all of us believe that there is going to be a next life. And then if there is going to be a next life, then we have to prepare for it. And to prepare for that, what we need to do, so we need to have more faith in the Dharma, we need to have more loving kindness, we need to be free from those 10 sins that I talked the last time when we were talking about karma cause and effect, and we have to make more and more Dharma activities. And yeah, so these are the 4 general wondro. And sometimes what people do is they think that, oh, this is just a preliminary practice. This is just wondro. We don't have to focus so much on this. But it's not like that, because these are the foundations. And whatever you do the next time, whatever practices that you do, whether you're doing Vajra Yogini or whether you're doing Chakra Samvara, whether you do Kala Chakra, whether you do Chariots, whatever practices you do, but these 4 has to be like the foundation for your practice. And if you don't have this strong foundation, then the practice that you will be doing won't be of that much of help. It's just like a building. It's just like a house where with 4 pillars. When the 4 pillars are not so strong, no matter how many floors that you add, no matter if you build 3 stories, 4 stories, 5 stories, the house is not going to be stable. There is always the risk, or there's always going to be the danger of the house being collapsing. So it's extremely dangerous, and it's not going to be of great benefit if you don't have the foundation very strong. So it's extremely important that you pay, that you show, that you practice this for foundation as much as you can. And it is going to help you a lot. And when you have more faith, when you have more devotion, and when you have more belief in this 4 foundation, then after this, it's going to be very easy for you when you are practicing something else, because when the foundations is strong, then the practices are going to be strong. And we have seen that most of our practices till now, what we have been doing, what we have done, we do know that we haven't got much result. It's all because our foundations were not so strong, because we directly jumped into our main practice. It's just like not going to the school and then you go directly to the college. And then if you are studying in college without studying in the school, then it's obviously going to be waste of time. It's obviously you will not understand much. You will have difficulties in the exams. You will not understand what is being lectured by the professor because you don't have any idea. It's just like that. But if you go to the school and if you study very well in school, then when you go into a college, it's going to be quite easy for you in the college. So just like that, it's very extremely important to practice these 4 foundations. And then when you practice something else like Chakra Samvara or Vajra Yogini, then it's going to be very easy for you. So I think that's it for today. And in these 4 sessions, we have now gone through with the 4 general wondro. We have talked on the precious human birth, impermanence, karma cause and effect, and the defects of samsara. And the next session will be the special wondro. And yeah, we'll stop here for today. And thank you all. Sonamde Tamje Sebani, Topden Petana Pobje, Kekana Che Balap Tupai, Sipe Sole Dowa Show.